Hello students, in this video we are going to start with a new topic, chemical bonding. It's a very important topic in chemistry because it helps you to understand various other concepts in chemistry. We have seen about atoms and molecules, and we know atoms are not capable of free existence, but a group of atoms of the same or different elements exist as one species. For example, see hydrogen, oxygen, water and sulfur. Here two hydrogen atoms are there, here two oxygen atoms, here one oxygen and two hydrogen atoms, and here 8 sulfur atoms are there. So a group of atoms existing together as one species and having a characteristic property is called a molecule. In the first video for grade 11, I've showed what are the differences between atoms and molecules. So you know what is a molecule. The force which holds the atoms together within a molecule is called a chemical bonding. We know, see in this example, atoms are staying together as molecules, and the force which is holding these atoms together within a molecule is called a chemical bond. Now, a number of questions arise. One such question is, why do atoms combine? See, here hydrogen atom and hydrogen atom combine to give you hydrogen molecule. Here two hydrogen atoms combine with one oxygen atom to give you a water molecule. So why do atoms combine? And the second question is, why only certain combinations are possible? For example, two hydrogen atoms combine together to give you H2, but two helium atoms do not combine to form He2. So only certain combinations are possible and other combinations are not possible. Why? And the third question, why molecules have definite shape? For example, if you take a carbon dioxide molecule, it is linear, but a water molecule is tetrahedral in shape. So why do certain molecules, they have definite shapes? So we need certain reasons to answer these questions. So to look into the reasons for the answers to these questions, different theories have been put forward from time to time. Now we are going to see what are those theories put forward in different times to answer all these questions. These are the different theories that have been put forward. Cossel-Lewis approach, valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, also called as VSEPR theory, valence bond theory called as VB theory, and molecular orbital theory. So in this lesson, we will be describing all these theories so that we could be able to answer those questions that we have seen just now. So let's move on to the theories now. So the first question, why do atoms combine? A number of atoms were made to explain the formation of chemical bonds in terms of electrons. But it was only in 1916 when Cossel and Lewis, they succeeded independently in giving a satisfactory explanation. Since their theory was based on the electronic concept of atom, it is referred to as electronic theory of valency. They came up with a satisfactory explanation by studying the chemistry of noble gases. You know what are noble gases? The 18th group elements are called as noble gases. We have helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon and radon in the noble gases. The study of the noble gases suggests that neither they combine chemically with any other element, not among themselves. So why do they behave like that? Which means they don't react with other elements also, and they don't react with themselves. So to explain this inert nature, we have to look into the electronic configuration of these noble gases. See, helium, atomic number is 2 and the electronic configuration is 2. For neon, atomic number is 10, so the electronic configuration 2, 8. For argon, 18 is the atomic number, so 2, 8, 8 is the electronic configuration. Same way for krypton, xenon, radon. So if you look into all these noble gases electronic configuration, you can see they have 8 electrons in their outermost orbit, except in case of helium, which has 2. Hence it was suggested that they possess stable electronic configurations because they are chemically inactive. In case of all the other elements, the number of electrons in their outermost shell is less than 8 and hence they are chemically reactive. This led to the conclusion that the atoms of different elements combine with each other in order to complete their respective octets, that is 8 electrons in their outermost shell, or doublet, that is outermost shell having 2 electrons. In the case of hydrogen, lithium, beryllium, to attain the stable nearest noble gas configuration. So for hydrogen, lithium and beryllium, the stable nearest noble gas configuration is helium's configuration, which is 2. For all the other elements, it is 8. So that led to the rule which is called as octet rule. So Kossel came up with this octet rule, and they said the atoms of different elements combine with each other in order to complete their respective octets or doublets, which means they try to combine with other atoms so that they can get 8 electrons in their outermost shell or 2 electrons in the case of hydrogen, lithium and beryllium. So now this question is answered. Why do atoms combine? So that they can get stable octet or doublet configuration. Now the next question is, how do atoms combine? So we just said atoms combine together in order to complete their respective octets so that they can acquire the stable inert gas configuration. So how do they combine? They can combine in 2 ways. One, by complete transfer of one or more electrons from one atom to another atom. So atoms can combine with each other by complete transfer of one or more electrons from one atom to another atom. By this way, a chemical bond is formed between the combining atoms, and that chemical bond is called as electrovalent or ionic bond. So what is electrovalent or ionic bond? The chemical bond formed between atoms by complete transfer of one or more electrons from one atom to another atom. This is one way of atoms combining. The other way is by sharing of electrons. Here there is complete transfer of electrons. Here they can share electrons. And while sharing the electrons, it can again be done by 2 ways. In one way, when the shared electrons are contributed by the 2 combining atoms equally, which means if 2 atoms are combining, both the atoms are contributing electrons and both are sharing, and that bonding is called as covalent bonding. The other way, when the electrons are contributed entirely by one of the atoms but shared by both, then the bond is called as coordinate bond or dative bond. For example, if you have a biscuit or a chocolate and you're sharing that biscuit with your friend, but your friend is not having any biscuits or chocolates, but both are sharing. This is one way of sharing. The other way, both of you are having a biscuit and your friend is having a chocolate, and you both are sharing among yourself. So both are contributing a snack and you're sharing, and in the first case both are sharing but only one is giving the contribution. So the first case is shared electrons are contributed by both the atoms equally. In such case, the bonding formed is called as covalent bond. In the second case, both are sharing, but who is giving both the electrons? Only one atom, and such bonding is called as coordinate bond or dative bond. We will be seeing about all this bond formation with examples. So remember, how do atoms combine? They combine by 2 ways. One, by complete transfer of electron, where we get ionic or electrovalent bond, and the second one by sharing of electrons. And that sharing of electrons can be done by 2 ways. In the first case we get covalent bonding, in the second case we get coordinate bond or dative bond. So now when atoms combine, we are going to get molecules. In the formation of a molecule, only the outer shell electrons are involved, and they are known as valence electrons. The inner shell electrons are well protected and are generally not involved in the molecule formation process. So it is therefore very reasonable to consider only the outer shell electrons, that is valence shell electrons, while discussing the chemical bonds. So Lewis introduced simple symbols to denote the valence shell electrons in an atom. The outer shell electrons are shown as dots surrounding the symbol of the atom. These symbols are known as Lewis symbols or electron dot symbols. So Lewis symbols represent only the valence shell electrons in an atom and they ignore the inner shell electrons. So look here, I have written the element, the electronic configuration of the element and the Lewis symbols. First let's take lithium. The the atomic number is 3. So the electronic configuration is 2, 1. So what is the valence shell electron? Just 1. So put 1 dot here. So this is the Lewis symbol of lithium. For beryllium, the atomic number is 4. The electronic configuration is 2, 4. How many valence electrons are there? 2. So put 2 dots here. So this is the Lewis representation of beryllium. For boron, valence electrons 3. So put 3 dot here. So this is the Lewis dot symbol for boron. For carbon with 4 dots because 4 valence electrons. Nitrogen 2 dots. 3, 4, 5. So totally 5 electrons, valence electrons. So no matter where you put these dots around nitrogen, it should have 5 dots, that's all. So for oxygen, 6 valence electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same way for fluorine, 7 valence electrons because the atomic number is 9. So how will you write the electronic configuration? 2, 7. So put 7 dots here. For sodium, atomic number 11. Neon, atomic number 10, so 2, 8, so you put 8 dots here. For sodium 11, 2, 8, 1 is the electronic configuration, just put 1 dot because only 1 valence electron. For magnesium 2 valence electrons, 2 dots. Aluminium 3 valence electrons, 3 dots. So these are the Lewis symbols for these respective atoms of these elements. Now we will see how ionic or electrovalent bond and covalent bonds are formed between atoms. The first bond is ionic bond or electrovalent bond. This is explained by Cossel-Lewis. When a bond is formed by complete transfer of electrons from one atom to another so that they can get octet configuration in their outermost shell or doublet in the case of hydrogen and lithium, and so they acquire stable nearest noble gas configuration. The bond formed is called ionic bond or electrovalent bond. So to say it simply, ionic bond is formed by transfer of electron, complete transfer of electron from one atom to another atom. So now let's explain how this bond formation is happening. We know atoms are electrically neutral, therefore they possess equal number of protons and neutrons. So when they lose or gain electron, they become positive or negatively charged species. Now look here, I have a neutral atom. When it loses an electron, it becomes a positively charged ion which we call as cation. So A, when it loses electron, it forms A plus electron, and when an atom accepts an electron, it forms a negative ion which is called as an anion. B plus electron, which means the atom accepting an electron giving you an anion. So these two oppositely charged particles formed will be attracted to each other by electrostatic forces of attraction, and the bond thus formed is known as electrovalent or ionic bond. Now let's take an example, sodium chloride. We'll see how the sodium chloride is formed. First let's take sodium atom whose atomic number is 11. So how can you write the configuration? 2, 8, 1. Now remember, we are talking about octet. So sodium is expecting to get 8 electrons in the valence shell. So actually 1 is present in the outermost shell. If it loses this 1 electron, now this will be the outermost electron. So it can have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. So sodium is eagerly waiting to lose 1 electron. We have seen in the previous lesson when we talked about alkali metals, they are more electropositive and they are metals because they have more tendency to lose electron. So sodium has more tendency to lose electron. Now chlorine, what is the atomic number of chlorine? It's 17. What will be the configuration? 2, 8, 7. Now look at the valence shell. There are 7 electrons, but how many electrons are needed by chlorine to attain octet? 1 more electron. So chlorine is ready to accept an electron. Do you remember chlorine belongs to the halogens family and they are non-metals and they are more electronegative because they have more tendency to accept electrons or attract electrons. So chlorine is ready to accept an electron, sodium is very much eager to lose an electron. So when they come in contact, what will happen? Sodium loses an electron and becomes a positive ion. See, Na plus electron because it has lost an electron. Now the configuration of sodium is 2, 8. Now come to chlorine. Chlorine is ready to accept an electron. It takes up the electron given by sodium, see, plus electron, and it becomes an anion. Now look at the configuration of Cl minus 288. As I told you already, these both species are oppositely charged and they are attracted by electrostatic force of attraction and they stay together. So Na plus Cl minus, or you can simply write NaCl. So the bond between them is called as ionic bond. How this bond is formed? By the attraction between the oppositely charged species. How this oppositely charged species are formed? By complete transfer of electron from sodium to chlorine. So this bonding, which is formed by complete transfer of electron from one atom to another, is called as ionic bond or electrovalent bond. Now let's see one more example. Formation of calcium fluoride. Now take a calcium atom, the atomic number is 20, configuration is 2882. How many electrons are there in the outermost shell? 2 electrons. Now if calcium loses the 2 electrons, it will gain the octet configuration because this will become the valence shell when these electrons are lost. Same way, when you see fluorine, atomic number is 9, 2, 7. So fluorine needs just one more electron to attain the octet. But so calcium can give 2 electrons. So what calcium will do? Calcium will find 2 fluorines and give each fluorine one electron. So this fluorine gains 8 in the valence shell. This fluorine also gains 8 electrons in the valence shell. Calcium gains 8 electrons in the valence shell. So what will happen? Calcium with these 2 valence electrons is transferring 1 electron to this fluorine and another electron to this fluorine. So calcium already with 2882 configuration and fluorine with 2, 7 now becomes 288 and this becomes 2828. And note down the charge. Calcium is losing 2 electrons, so it is gaining 2 plus charge, and fluorine is gaining 1 electron, so F minus. This fluorine is gaining 1 electron, so F minus. So this is positively charged, this is negatively charged, so there is force of attraction, electrostatic force of attraction, and that bonding is called as ionic bonding. So we can write this as CaF2. So remember, when the atom loses 2 electrons, it gets 2 positive charges. If for example, if you take aluminium, it can lose 3 electrons, so you will write Al3+. So in this ionic bond formation, there is electrons lost and gained. So the number of electrons lost or gained during the formation of an electrovalent bond is termed as electrovalency of the element. See, the number of electrons lost or gained during the formation of an electrovalent bond is called as the electrovalency of the elements. For example, sodium lost 1 electron and calcium lost 2 electrons. So what is the valency of sodium? It is 1, and the valency of calcium, it is 2. Similarly, chlorine, it gained 1 electron, so the valency of chlorine is 1. Same way, fluorine gained 1 electron. Actually 2 fluorines, they are gaining 1 electron each, so the valency of fluorine is 1, not 2. But the valency of calcium, because it is losing 2 electrons, so it is 2. So this is how an electrovalent or an ionic bond is formed. So remember, it is formed by the complete transfer of electrons from one atom to another atom. Now what we are going to see, what are the factors governing the formation of this ionic bonds. So which factor favors the formation of ionic bond? Before moving on to the factors affecting the formation of ionic bonds, let's see some more information about this ionic bond. We said there is an electrostatic force of attraction between a cation and an anion. When you take an ion, the electrostatic field of an ion is non-directional, which means each positive ion attracts several negative ions around it depending upon its size or radius. Similarly, each negative ion attracts several positive ions, resulting into a three-dimensional solid aggregate called an ionic crystal, in which oppositely charged ions alternate in regular continuous geometrical pattern. For example, in a sodium chloride crystal, each sodium ion is surrounded by 6 equally spaced chloride ions and each chloride ion by 6 equally spaced sodium ions, so that there exists an overall electrical neutrality. This is called coordination number. So the coordination number of Na plus is 6 and Cl minus is also 6 in NaCl, because each Na plus is surrounded by 6 Cl minus and each Cl minus is surrounded by 6 Na plus. You will be learning about this crystal structure in grade 12 in the chapter called solid state. So as for now, you just know what is this three-dimensional arrangement in an ionic crystal. Each positive ion attracts several negative ions around it, and each negative ion attracts several positive ions around it. Now we will move on to the factors governing the formation of ionic bonds. As we have seen, the formation of ionic bond involves these 3 steps. First step, the formation of a positive ion by loss of electrons. Second, the formation of a negative ion by gain of electrons. And finally, holding the positive and the negative ions by electrostatic forces of attraction. These 3 steps are involved in the formation of ionic bond. Now, the formation of this ionic bond depends upon these 3 factors: ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, and lattice enthalpy. Now let's see one by one. So the first factor is ionization enthalpy. We have seen already in the 3rd chapter about this ionization enthalpy and electron gain enthalpy. So we will just recall that. What is ionization enthalpy? It is the amount of energy required to remove an electron from the outermost shell of an isolated gaseous atom to convert that atom into gaseous positive ion. So for the ionic bond formation, we need to form a positive ion. So if the ionization enthalpy is less, then you can easily remove the electron and easier will be the positive ion formation. Now look at this example. To remove an electron from sodium, you need 495 kilojoule mole inverse. This is the ionization enthalpy. And in the case of magnesium, to remove an electron, you need to give 743 kilojoule mole inverse. So formation of a positive ion of sodium is easier than that of magnesium, which means lesser the ionization enthalpy, easier will be the removal of electron. So what you can conclude from this, lower the values of ionization enthalpy, greater the chances of ionic bond formation. Why? Because easier will be the formation of positive ion, because ionic bond formation involves the formation of positive ion. So you can form a positive ion easily if the ionization enthalpy is lesser. Now the next factor is electron gain enthalpy. So what is electron gain enthalpy? The amount of energy released when an extra electron is added to an isolated atom in the gaseous phase to form a gaseous negative ion. So we have seen more negative the electron gain enthalpy value, easier will be the electron addition. If the atom is taking the electron easily, more energy will be released, and we give a negative sign to that energy because it is released by the system. If the energy is given to the system, we denote it with a positive sign. Here energy is released by the system, an extra electron is added to the atom. So more negative value, which means more energy is released, then easier will be the electron addition. So let's take an example. If you are adding an electron to chlorine to form Cl minus, the energy released is minus 348 kilojoule per mole. In the case of oxygen, if an electron is added, the energy released is minus 142 kilojoule mole inverse, and now here it is more negative. So formation of a negative ion of chlorine is easier than that of oxygen. You know the reason, because chlorine has 7 valence electron. So if one electron is added, it gains an octet configuration. So it is more easier to add an electron to chlorine, and you can understand that from the electron gain enthalpy value. So more negative values of electron gain enthalpy, greater the chances of ionic bond formation. Why? When the electron gain enthalpy is more negative, it is easier to add an electron. If it is easier to add an electron, then it is easier to form an anion, so that will enhance the chances of ionic bond formation. And I just want to mention one thing here. In some books you could see instead of electron gain enthalpy, electron affinity term is used. Electron affinity and electron gain enthalpy both are taken as equal in magnitude but opposite in sign. Because previously when they used the term electron affinity, they used the positive symbol. But thermodynamics demands that if energy is released, it should be given a negative sign. But electron affinity has signs contrary to the thermodynamic conventions. So we use electron gain enthalpy, and if you are given electron affinity, then you have to change the sign and use it as electron gain enthalpy. In sometimes competitive exam questions also, they'll give you the value in electron affinity and they'll ask you what is the electron gain enthalpy for this. You should just change the sign. So remember, when the electron gain enthalpy is more negative, greater the chances of ionic bond formation, as we are talking about the factors governing the ionic bond formation. And the last factor is lattice enthalpy. We know in the formation of ionic compounds, what are ionic compounds? The compound which is formed by complete transfer of electron from an atom to another atom. So they form an ionic bond, and such compounds are called as ionic compounds. In ionic compound formation, the positively charged ions combine with negatively charged ions to form the compound. So we say, for example, Na plus Cl minus gives you Na plus Cl minus. The energy released when the requisite number of positive and negative ions combine to form 1 mole of the ionic compound is called lattice energy or lattice enthalpy. Remember, when we are talking about sodium chloride formation, we write Na plus Cl minus gives NaCl. It doesn't mean just one atom of sodium and one atom of chlorine. They are forming cations and anions and combine together to form just one NaCl. It's not like that. Because we know we can talk about atoms in terms of huge numbers, not single atoms. So when we are talking about the bond formation, we are talking about the formation of more than 1 mole of the compound. So we can define lattice enthalpy as the energy released when the requisite number of positive and negative ions combine to form 1 mole of the ionic compound. So that energy is released when cation and anion combine to form 1 mole of the compound is called as lattice enthalpy. Again, it is released by the system, so it is given a negative sign. Remember, higher the value of lattice enthalpy of the resulting ionic compound, greater will be the stability of the compound. So greater will be its ease of formation, which means more negative lattice enthalpy will favor the ionic bond formation, just like electron gain enthalpy. So concluding all these three, first factor is ionization enthalpy. It should be low so that ionic bond formation is favored. Second one is electron gain enthalpy. It should be more negative, and same way lattice enthalpy should be more negative so that they can favor the ionic bond formation. So the net effect is, if lattice enthalpy is more negative, ionization enthalpy is lower, electron gain enthalpy is high negative, then ionic bond formation is favored. Now for example, see, sodium is losing an electron. So this energy is ionization enthalpy, which is 495.8. And here chlorine is gaining an electron to give an anion. Here the energy is released, which is electron gain enthalpy. Here positive ion and the negative ion are joining together to give the ionic compound, and the energy released is lattice enthalpy. So remember, greater the lattice enthalpy, more stable is the ionic compound. When we say greater, we mean more negative. So these are the factors which govern the ionic bond formation. So we are done with electrovalent or ionic bond. Now we are going to see the next type of bond, which is covalent bond. The ionic bond was explained by Kossel, and this covalent bond is explained by Lewis-Langmuir concept. We know how covalent bond is formed by mutual sharing of electrons between atoms. Why do they share electrons? So that they can attain octet configuration. For example, in the ionic bond formation, we have seen the example of NaCl. We said chlorine has the atomic number 17 and it has 7 valence electrons. So chlorine is waiting for 1 electron. In the ionic bond formation, who came and gave that 1 electron to chlorine? Sodium. So sodium was eager to lose 1 electron. So sodium gave 1 electron to chlorine. So chlorine got the octet configuration. Now imagine you have a bottle full of chlorine gas. How many chlorine atoms will be there? There will be millions and millions of chlorine atoms. So all these chlorine are waiting for sodium to come and give 1 electron so that they can be having octet configuration, but they waited so long. Who's not coming? Sodium is not coming. So what these chlorines will do, they talk among each other. One chlorine saying to another chlorine, I need 1 electron to attain the octet. You also need 1 electron to gain the octet. So why don't we share among ourselves? So they share the valence electrons, and that's how covalent bond is formed. Now look here, this is chlorine, outermost shell, 7 electrons are there. So this is Lewis dot structure. I have written 2 chlorines. This chlorine needs 1 electron, this chlorine needs 1 electron. They are sharing that electron, which is represented by this overlapping circle. And the shared electrons are drawn inside this overlapped portion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This 6 electrons are here. Again, this chlorine has 6 electrons. This chlorine is giving 1 electron. This chlorine is also giving 1 electron. Both are sharing. So they are sharing 1 pair of electron, which is represented as 1 bond. So this can be written as Cl bond Cl. So both have 8 electrons. So this bonding, which is formed by sharing of electrons, mutual sharing of electrons, because both the participating atoms are contributing their share of electrons. So we call this as mutual sharing of electrons, and this bonding is called as covalent bonding. And remember, for hydrogen, just 2 electrons in the outermost shell, it will be stable. Now let's take the bond formation between hydrogen and chlorine. Hydrogen has 1 valence electron, chlorine with 7 valence electrons, so they both are sharing. So the shared electron is written in the overlapped portion. So this, out of these 2 electrons, 1 from hydrogen, 1 from chlorine. So now see, for hydrogen we have 2 electrons, and for chlorine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So between hydrogen and chlorine, 1 pair of electron is shared, so you are putting 1 bond, H bond Cl. Same way the bonding between oxygen and oxygen. What is the atomic number of oxygen? 8, and oxygen has 6 electrons, valence electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Same way for this oxygen. So this oxygen needs 2 more electrons to attain octet because it already has 6. Same way this oxygen also need 2 electrons. So both the oxygens are going to share 2 pairs of electrons, which means 4 electrons are shared. 2 electrons from this oxygen and 2 electrons from this oxygen. See, in the shared part, 4 electrons are there. 2 from this oxygen, 2 from this oxygen. These remaining oxygens which are not shared is written over here. So between these 2 oxygen atoms, 2 pairs of electrons are shared. So O, double bond O. And when there are 6 electrons, we don't mention it outside, but when there are less than 6 electrons, like 4, we put it here. See, we call this as lone pair of electrons. This is bond pair. Shared between these 2 is bond pair. The unshared electrons are called as lone pair electrons. So there are 2 pairs of electrons shared between 2 oxygen atoms. Now coming to nitrogen, in outermost shell it has 5 electrons, but it needs 3 more electrons to attain octet. So they share 3 electrons. See, so 2 here, this 2 is written here, this 2 is written here, and they share 6 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So altogether this nitrogen has 8 electrons and this nitrogen has 8 electrons. So now they have shared 3 pairs of electrons. So N, triple bond N, and these 2 electrons which are not involved in bonding are written here. So this is the covalent bonding between 2 atoms of nitrogen. So this is how covalent bonding is formed by mutual sharing of electrons. So in this video we have seen 2 different bondings between atoms, ionic bonding and covalent bonding. Thank you.